Have you ever felt like your hands are holding you back in drawing? Now, I don't mean your ability to draw hands, I mean your ability to use your hands to draw.
Well, I know I certainly have.
The feeling of being unable to control your lines is so frustrating. First you make a line, then realize it's not really what you imagined, so you press Ctrl Z to redo it again. When your mechanical skills are still unripe, each line forces you to make a choice between spending more time to get what you wanted or accept what you have in order to move on to the next step. The less patience you have, the more inclined you are to make a compromise and choose the latter. After repeatedly pressing Ctrl Z for a couple of dozen of times, you finally get it. The line you envisioned, but there's still a long way to go. Eventually you get tired and your willingness to put up with something less than what you expected grows. You start to make more compromises and the next thing you know is a drawing, which is finished, yet mediocre. You instantly feel the weight of your choices. You might even start to berate yourself for not being able to stick to your standards. And I don't know about you, but at times like these, I can't help but wonder about ways to achieve the line I see in my mind's eye faster. If you ever wondered about the same thing, then you might want to hear what I have to say. Let me start by stating this. I believe that a drawing is the synergy of each little element it consists of. To me, one of the simplest elements is line. The better you control each individual line, the more likely you are to achieve a satisfying result. What is a good line in the context of creation process? A good line is one which follows your intent. If your intent is to draw a straight line, but all you end up with is a Fibonacci spiral, then you need more control. One way to achieve control is line control exercises, such as drawing straight lines, curved lines, ovals, circles, waves, etc. And while they are helpful, they are very tedious. But what if there was another way? Something that would look more like a process running in the background rather than a boring routine. Well, luckily for you, I might have a way. And the way is grip styles. In this video, I'll try to convince you to take on the path of grip experiments in order to achieve greater hand dexterity, so stick with me to find out what do I mean by all that. Occasionally, I would watch different artists' work processes and notice how some of them hold their pen in very peculiar ways. One great example that comes to mind is Yona Yamamai. Just look at this. Isn't it weird? Do you hold your pen this way? But surely there must be a good reason for holding it this way, right? Instances like this made me question why do I even hold my pen the way I do in the first place. Think about it. I'm pretty sure most of us hold the pen in the exact same way. Just the way we learned to do it when we started to write. And though, mechanically speaking, writing is a relatively complex task, it is not as demanding as drawing when it comes to precision. We learn to write to convey semantic meaning, not for people to visually appreciate how good our writing looks, unless we're talking about calligraphy. And look, I'm not a brain scientist, but I'm going to make the bold assumption that using this exact grip we use for writing might actually limit the way we use our hand just out of pure habit inertia. Because of the utilitarian nature of writing, I believe our brain gets used to the fact that we just create symbols when our hand takes the pencil in this specific way. A very limited cluster of symbols that requires a very limited range of motion, I must say. And the longer we do it, the stronger we make this neural pathway of just doing the same motions over and over again. I believe that's partially the reason why, when we start drawing, holding our pen in this same position, we feel strong resistance trying to create complex lines and shapes. We're trying to create form, which is far less abstract than just symbols, and we're using a wider range of motion than we are used to, as opposed to writing. But what if, instead, we would try a new grip, one that our brains are not used to? Something like this. Well, you might find that it feels unusual. And that's exactly what we need. Unusual is good. It forces our brain to stop going autopilot and start making an actual mindful effort to convey our intentions onto the canvas. Because it seems like an unfamiliar task, our brain is given the opportunity to learn again and even rewrite the old suboptimal muscle habits. Isn't that great? All thanks to neuroplasticity. But wait, there's more. Besides that, there's another factor which comes into play when we talk about grip switching. I'll call it compatibility. I like to think that each grip has an inherent compatibility factor with your specific set of hand specs. Everybody's hand is slightly different. Anatomically, we're all the same, but everybody has some slightly different proportions of phalanges, finger-to-palm ratios, finger thickness, etc. And although seemingly minuscule, when combined together, it can create a substantial difference in subjective drawing experience. Because our hands didn't evolve specifically for drawing or writing, and the pen is a very primitive instrument, it's literally just a short little stick, our natural range of motion is quite limited. But with a change of grip, we suddenly can extend our comfortable range of motion, improve our precision, and even increase the chance of landing the perfect circle. Yeah, I know, it's not like I'm making a groundbreaking discovery here. Some of you are already doing it intuitively all the time. But are you being mindful about it? Have you ever intentionally ventured into exploring all of the different possibilities your hand could offer when it comes to this simple task of holding your pen? Have you ever analyzed how it impacts your process and results? Have you ever tried to use a grip that feels a bit awkward initially only to realize later that you much prefer it over your basic grip style? Because your hand is unique in its shape, size, and proportions, the grips which would work the best for you are unique to you. Each unique hand presents an opportunity for a unique, hypothetical, quote-unquote, ideal grip. Meaning that there should be a grip which has the potential to give you the most control in comparison to any other grip. It doesn't mean that you're the only one who will be able to benefit the most of it, but it might as well be. I should also state that it might totally be the case that this standard grip you used for your whole life is actually the best one for you. Only you can know that. But in order to find out if it's true, you would have to try other grips as well and assess them individually. Actually, even if your potential ideal grip is still just your normal writing grip, you still would benefit a lot from using new grips, because new movement patterns you learn from trying other grips will transfer to when you use your old grips as well. And now that I hopefully gave you enough reasons to try it if you haven't already, let me give you a simple guide to help you start experimenting with your grips and evaluate its effects on your line control. First thing you want to keep in mind is that almost any new grip you try might feel slightly off, at least initially. That's completely normal. As I said, your brain is just not used to it, and your initial control might even be worse than your usual baseline. But don't get discouraged. Give it some time. Whenever you try a new grip, try to use it exclusively for a certain period of time, let's say a couple of days, or a couple of hours, or a couple of weeks. Usually, in my experience, it might take a couple of days to get comfortable with a new grip. We should know that it takes weeks or even months to make it yours and probably years to master it. The reason you want to use one grip exclusively for a certain period of time is not only to allow your brain to get used to it, but also to see how much different it feels when you finally switch back over to your baseline grip to compare them. It gives you a much better chance at discerning their differences, their strong points and weak points. For example, you might feel like one grip feels better for long horizontal lines, and the other works better with vertical and diagonal lines, for example. One might give you more micro-control, one works better with long strokes, one is good for ellipses, one is good for S-curves, one might be better all around, and it could even become your new baseline grip. It's all very individual, so try and see for yourself. Another way to compare grips is testing them in specific scenarios. For example, whenever you stumble on a block and can't draw a specific part of the body, hair, accessory, or whatever, just try switching your grip and see if it gets easier. If it does, that's a good sign. It means you should try to use that grip more often and see where it leads you. A simple grip switch often helps you achieve a new range of motion and can potentially help you land a hard line first try. But I want you to keep in mind that you don't want to use it only as a crutch, because if you don't spend enough time with your new grip and just occasionally switch to it when it gets hard, then you're depriving yourself of the opportunity to learn new movement patterns, which ultimately means you're barely increasing your overall dexterity stat. And now to the main part of the video, where I get to show off all of the cool grips I discovered that work for me. Hopefully this gave you some ideas on where to start. And here's a non-exhaustive list of factors to keep in mind regarding grips, not in a particular order of importance. Tightness versus looseness. Angle relative to table. Angle relative to you. Finger placement. Distance from the tip. Also consider grip mods. But that should be another topic entirely. Here's a bonus tip. If you're using a drawing tablet instead of a display, then you have a huge advantage because you don't need to worry about your hand blocking the view. So go crazy. So here I conclude this dive into grips. I was pondering about this concept for the last year and a half or so, but just couldn't put it into words properly. I haven't seen anyone talk about it, so hopefully it helps you approach drawing from a new angle. If you found this video helpful, then let me know by leaving a like and sharing your thoughts under the video. I genuinely would like to hear about your experiences and experiments with grips. I will read it all. And also, thanks for 400 subscribers for my first video, which came out about a year ago? That's crazy. If any of you are still here and watching this video, thank you. And if you're new, then subscribe maybe? Who knows, maybe I'll even think about uploading something more often than, I don't know, once a year. Anyways, that's it. Bye!